These wankers have put targets on everyone. Keir Starmer is responsible for the sort of shit that happens there. Because he's put a target on every one of us with his smears and lies for telling the truth. Charlie Kirk told the truth. If Charlie Kirk lived in the UK, Keir Starmer would lock him up. How dare you make comments about his death? When you're responsible for this shit, people with your mindset, condemning people, putting targets on them, lying about them, and then pretending you give a shit. Absolute fucking hypocrisy.
Rupert Law.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. My new political movement, Restore Britain, is currently running a membership poll on support for deporting all illegal migrants. The response from thousands of people is almost unanimously in favour. Will the Leader of the House make time for a debate on mass deportations, given its extraordinary level of public support, and ensure that this House has the opportunity to debate not just the moral imperative, but the legal and operational reforms required, including secure detention facilities, bilateral returns agreements, foreign aid suspensions, remittance taxes, visa cancellations, the introduction of a true hostile environment, and plenty more, all in order to deliver the mass deportation of every last illegal migrant at scale and pace.
Leader of the House.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I'm tempted to give the answer that one of my predecessors, Ted Short, gave, which is to say no. However, I'm not going to do that because these are important matters. I made very clear in my opening remarks that I regard my role in this House as respecting the views of members and making opportunities for members to debate those, even if they are, I have to say, abhorrent views. He knows, he's been here long enough, he knows that there are many ways in which these matters can be raised. He's just done it now. I'm resisting the temptation to go down the track of reciting the very important work that this government is doing. But if he does seek a debate on these matters in the usual way, then perhaps he'll be successful.
Turmoil has gripped Westminster as Keir Starmer confronts the most serious challenge to his leadership so far. In a stunning development moments ago, MPs from multiple parties formally launched a no-confidence vote against him, transforming quiet dissatisfaction into an open political uprising. The backlash has been driven by Starmer's abrupt Brexit reversal, a move that has shaken his party and ignited national outrage, leaving his once firm hold on power rapidly weakening. As the pressure mounts, the central question now dominating political debate is whether the Labour leader can withstand this seismic moment or be brought down by it. The crisis surrounding Starmer has been building steadily, but it erupted today when angry MPs finally united to force a no-confidence vote, an action without precedent in its scale. Lawmakers from both Labour and opposition benches have aligned, insisting that Starmer's approach to Brexit crossed an unforgivable boundary. His push for a discreet EU agreement, one critics argue undermines core Brexit commitments, became the flashpoint for rebellion, seen not as a simple error but as a breach of trust with voters who demanded restored sovereignty. That sense of betrayal has now evolved into a political firestorm threatening his leadership, as the vote signals a direct assault on his authority. Sources say senior Labour figures have been coordinating this move for days, with tense private talks accusing him of duplicity, as his promise to uphold Brexit lies shattered and replaced by a deal that returns control over fishing, food standards, and legal oversight to Brussels. The agreement has infuriated not only conservative Brexit hardliners but also Labour MPs from heartland seats who feel betrayed and deceived. One enraged lawmaker reportedly fumed in private that this was not leadership but capitulation. Inside Parliament, the fallout has been fierce, with observers describing a poisonous atmosphere marked by shouting clashes in committee rooms and tense confrontations spilling into the corridors. Starmer himself is said to have snapped at colleagues, accusing them of disloyalty and warning of consequences for those who oppose him, yet the uprising has grown far beyond his control. The cross-party bloc driving the no-confidence motion is resolute in its aim to weaken him, if not force him out altogether, and the speed and scale of their momentum suggest his grip on power may already be slipping beyond repair. The meaning of this revolt is profound, as a no-confidence vote stands among the most powerful weapons in parliamentary politics, and its launch alone signals a total breakdown of trust in Starmer's leadership. Even if he manages to survive the vote, the harm is permanent. His authority has been torn apart, his credibility badly damaged, and his image as a stable leader is collapsing in full public view. With every passing hour, fresh defections, sharper denunciations, and urgent warnings about Labour's future continue to surface. Outside Westminster, public frustration is reaching a boiling point, particularly in coastal communities such as Grimsby and Hull, where fishing towns that once hoped Brexit would bring revival now feel deeply wronged. Star's deal, which effectively prolongs EU fishing access until 2038, has been denounced as a clear and devastating sellout. Demonstrators are organizing, banners are rising, and cries of betrayal are flooding social media, signaling not isolated complaints but a deep fracture between the political class and the people they promised to serve. At the same time, Nigel Farage and Reform UK are exploiting the moment with sharp precision, as Farage brands Starmer the ultimate Brexit turncoat and Reform's rising poll numbers expose growing public hunger for alternatives outside the traditional parties. With every passing hour of turmoil, their position strengthens while Star's weakens, and the no-confidence vote now threatens to trigger a profound realignment in British politics, with Labour's historic base peeling away and the electoral landscape reshaped for years ahead. For Starr, time is running out as his inner circle races to shore up support, yet rumors of defections are spreading faster than they can be silenced, and MPs fearful for their seats are increasingly siding with the revolt. The atmosphere is one of anxiety, urgency, and unraveling, as the approaching vote makes it clear that Starr is no longer fighting only for leadership but for survival itself. What began as quiet dissatisfaction has surged into a political tidal wave tearing through Westminster, leaving his authority fractured and his future uncertain, while behind Parliament's imposing walls tensions simmer and every hushed exchange is heavy with mistrust and dread. Senior Labour figures who once stood firmly behind Starmer are now openly predicting his collapse, branding his leadership beyond repair and his Brexit approach an unforgivable blunder. Even trusted allies are said to be wavering, quietly weighing their own futures as the no-confidence vote approaches, creating a spectacle rarely witnessed in modern politics, a leadership implosion unfolding in real time. At the center of the revolt is the Brexit agreement Starmer forced through with remarkable secrecy, promoted as a reset with the EU but now widely exposed as outright surrender. Buried details reveal repeated concessions, from fishing rights extended far into the future and the return of EU legal oversight through the European Court of Justice, to youth mobility schemes reviving the shadow of free movement and closer alignment with EU defence plans that critics argue undermine Britain's global independence. For Brexit voters, these terms represent a direct betrayal of the referendum's promise, while for Starmer's opponents they confirm a leader willing to trade sovereignty for short-term political image. The deal is not merely unpopular, it is politically toxic, and anger within Labour is intense. MPs from northern heartlands and coastal strongholds have led the backlash, accusing Starmer of abandoning the very communities that once offered Labour a route back from years of decline, as fishing towns that placed their faith in Brexit now feel their livelihoods were quietly exchanged behind closed doors in places like Hartlepool, Sunderland, and Hull. Anger is reaching a breaking point as local Labour branches threaten open rebellion unless the leadership reverses course, with grassroots members describing a profound sense of personal betrayal from a leader they say promised one path and delivered the opposite. The party's already fragile unity is splintering under the pressure, while the opposition has sensed weakness and moved swiftly to capitalize on the turmoil. Conservative MPs, despite their own divisions, have found rare agreement in denouncing Starmer's leadership, and former Prime Minister Boris Johnson has re-emerged to brand the deal a disastrous surrender, portraying it as the end of Brexit itself. Tory lawmakers have ridiculed Labour as a party of broken trust while quietly relishing their rivals' collapse, yet the greatest beneficiary appears to be Nigel Farage and Reform UK. Farage has launched an aggressive media campaign, relentlessly targeting Starr and positioning Reform as the sole defender of Brexit, delivering a blunt and highly effective message that Starr misled voters, Labour let them down, and only Reform deserves their trust. As Reform support grows by the day, it now poses a serious threat to Labour in the very seats it cannot afford to lose. Inside Parliament, the mood has tipped into near hysteria, with reporters packing the corridors, cameras rolling as MPs rush between closed-door meetings, and rumours flying of last-minute manoeuvres, leadership plots, and backroom deals aimed at forcing Starr out before the no-confidence vote, as names such as Angela Rayner and Wes Streeting circulate as potential successors, yet few are willing to act too fast. wary of provoking the fury of a wounded leader who is still clinging fiercely to power. Insiders say Starr has grown increasingly erratic, snapping at advisors and denouncing what he calls weakness within his own ranks, as the composed image he once projected gives way to open frustration and desperation. Beyond Westminster, anger is spreading at speed, with demonstrations being organized nationwide as fishing communities, Brexit heartlands, and disillusioned Labour supporters prepare to flood the streets. In towns such as Grimsby and Plymouth, banners are already appearing, accusing Starmer of betrayal and calling for his resignation, while the backlash is no longer limited to older Brexit voters. Younger activists are also voicing their discontent, accusing him of dishonesty and a lack of conviction, as social media erupts with condemnation and demands for him to step aside. The crisis has burst out of Parliament and into the national consciousness, becoming a moment of reckoning for Britain with stakes at their highest. Coming at a time of economic fragility and record-low trust in politics, the consequences are especially severe, leaving businesses uncertain about the future of trade and investment and prompting allies abroad to question Britain's stability and reliability. At home, many feel let down by leaders they believed would honor the most significant democratic decision of a generation, and while the no-confidence vote is a formal parliamentary act, its impact now reaches far beyond Westminster, evolving into a defining struggle for the country's political future. As the countdown to the vote continues, one reality is impossible to deny: Keir Starmer's leadership is in grave danger. The rebellion has built unstoppable momentum, the sense of betrayal runs too deep, and the anger has spread too widely to be contained. Even if he manages to remain in office for the moment, his authority will be broken, his credibility shattered, and his party left deeply fractured. Starmer now stands caught in a crisis of his own making, a political storm powerful enough to sweep him aside and permanently alter Britain's political landscape. What began as quiet unrest inside Labour has escalated into a full-scale challenge to his control, destabilizing not only his leadership but the foundations of his government. The public watches as reports confirm that dozens of Labour MPs who once backed him are now openly questioning his legitimacy, accusing him of misleading voters, abandoning Brexit commitments, and allowing internal rifts to spiral unchecked. The party he once claimed to have unified is now tearing itself apart, with rival factions wielding the no-confidence vote as their decisive weapon. The timing only sharpens the danger, as economic strain and mounting domestic and international pressures collide with Labour's internal collapse, pushing the country toward political standstill. For Starr, this vote is far more than a formal test. It is an existential battle, framed by his critics as a moment of moral judgment over broken promises of integrity, accountability, and unity. Some MPs are already likening the crisis to the collapse of past Labour leaders brought down by bitter internal warfare, as the media amplifies every defection, resignation, and heated exchange, turning the party's unraveling into a national spectacle. Front pages scream of a party at war with itself and a leader on borrowed time, while analysts openly question whether Starr can recover from such public humiliation, even as visible cracks appear in his once controlled image. Critics portray him as a cornered leader, fighting purely to survive, while rival parties sense opportunity. Conservatives, bruised by years of scandal, see a rare chance to rebrand themselves as a steady alternative, and Reform UK is accelerating its rise by holding this chaos up as evidence that both major parties have failed the country. Nigel Farage and Richard Tice are aggressively leveraging the moment, declaring the vote proof of a broken political establishment and urging voters to abandon it for real change, as the Liberal Democrats quietly maneuver to benefit from Labour's collapse in credibility. Together, these forces are creating a volatile mix of uncertainty, with every party racing to claim the moral high ground while Britain itself slips deeper into political instability. The shockwaves from this no-confidence vote are now spreading far beyond Britain's borders, with European leaders who had only recently begun to re-engage with Starr after years of Brexit tensions openly questioning whether his government has the stability to sustain reliable relations. International media is portraying Britain as a country gripped by leadership turmoil, casting doubt on its ability to confront global challenges, while investors grow uneasy, markets wobble, and allies watch with caution, wondering whether a full government collapse and another general election may be imminent. Inside Westminster, the atmosphere is frantic, as leaked accounts describe backbench MPs meeting late into the night, drafting letters, and coordinating resistance against Starmer, with some demanding an immediate leadership contest and others pressing for a general election to return the decision to voters. Starr's supporters are scrambling to slow the revolt, calling for unity and restraint, yet the momentum of dissent appears relentless, transforming what was once containable criticism into a powerful force threatening to dismantle his leadership entirely. Even senior cabinet figures are reportedly reassessing their loyalty, weighing whether standing by Starr could end their own political careers, as Britain finds itself at a critical crossroads. Whether Starmer can somehow gather enough backing to survive the vote or succumbs to the overwhelming rebellion within his own ranks remains uncertain, but the consequences will shape not only his future, but the direction of the country itself. With tension mounting and uncertainty deepening by the hour, all eyes are now fixed on the vote itself, a moment that could either signal the resurgence of Starmer's leadership or its total collapse. Westminster buzzes with an electrifying tension as the no-confidence motion becomes the defining test of his political career, determining whether he remains Labour leader or joins the long list of predecessors undone by rebellion. As MPs assemble, every whisper, glance, and nod in the corridors carries historical weight, with the fate of his leadership now resting in the hands of those who once stood alongside him, campaigning on promises of renewal and stability but who now scrutinize every decision. This is far more than a vote on policy, it is a referendum on his credibility, character, and capacity to guide a fractured party through one of its most perilous moments. Tension escalates as early numbers leak, suggesting that Starmer may lack the commanding support he once assumed, with previously silent backbenchers turning against him over perceived betrayals of Brexit and his failure to unify Labour. Rival parties seize on these fractures, warning that Britain cannot risk a leader rejected by his own MPs, while outside Parliament, crowds swell with chants calling for resignation and cries for an immediate general election, turning the scene into a full-scale public drama. The clamour grows louder with every passing moment, reverberating through Westminster as if the entire nation has descended to witness this historic showdown. Publicly, Starr remains defiant, insisting the rebellion is a mere distraction, a sideshow engineered by opportunists aiming to fracture Labour when unity is most critical. He claims to still command sufficient support, yet the cracks are undeniable. Resignations from within his own team fuel a sense of inevitability, momentum building like a tide no longer containable. The opposition frames his defiance as arrogance, painting him as a leader clinging desperately to power even as the foundations of his authority crumble. Pride and desperation collide in a spectacle of isolation, with Starr standing alone against waves of disillusionment and betrayal. As the final votes are cast, silence descends, every face tense, every breath held in suspense. When the result is revealed, shockwaves ripple instantly through the chamber. Whether he survives by a narrow margin or falls to a decisive defeat, the outcome is the same: his leadership is gravely weakened. A leader forced to rely on fractured loyalty and the threat of collapse is no longer fully in control. Even if he remains in office, the rebellion leaves permanent scars, shattering his authority. Britain faces a chilling uncertainty, with questions of succession, potential elections, and Labour's future dominating every conversation. Commentators describe the vote as a political earthquake, for supporters, a bitter lesson in the fragility of leadership, and for opponents, a step closer to ending his tenure and reshaping the party. The opposition wastes no time demanding a general election to resolve the chaos, while Starr's legacy, once built on promises of unity and renewal, now lies in ruins, overshadowed by betrayal, rebellion, and division. Suspense lingers, drama escalates, and Britain remains engulfed in a storm of political crisis with no clear resolution in sight.